Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I'm Jana Miller, Marketing Manager at Intergraph CADWorks and Analysis Solutions. Today, our PV Elite webinar topic is Autodesk Inventor Plugin. Our speaker today is Luis San Juan, software developer at Intergraph. Luis holds a BS in Mechanical Engineering. He joined Intergraph in 2008, and since then, he has helped hundreds of PV Elite users and their companies become more efficient by helping them improve their product knowledge and work processes. Luis performs software development and technical support for PV Elite and CodeCalc. A quick reminder before we start. All attendees are muted by default. So if you have any questions or comments, please type them in the Questions tab. Tomorrow, you will receive an email with directions on how to watch a recording of this webinar. With that, I'd like to invite our main speaker. Welcome, Luis.
Hi, Jana. Thank you for that introduction. So we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about our Autodesk Inventor plugin that we developed for the PV Elite 2017 release. This is a plugin that will be used to model the PV Elite 3D models into Inventor, be able to import those models, and then you'll be able to utilize the capabilities of Autodesk Inventor. And so today I'm here with my colleague Michael, and we're going to cover a little bit of what we did, the work that we did for this plugin. So let's begin by showing you that we cover the agenda, that today we're going to go over the PV Elite requirements. There are certain requirements that every user of this plugin must be aware. Then we'll talk about the plugin UI, basically how the interface works, so you're familiar with this user interface and you are aware of all of its capabilities. And then we'll talk about the features. And in the section of the features, this is where we will actually show you the actual final product. And I just want to mention, this is not a tutorial of how to use Inventor. We're definitely not experts on Inventor. I'm sure there's more capable people out there that have used Inventor for so many years. But we will show you just, briefly how the Inventor plugin works and how it reads the PV Elite models. So basically, one of the main requirements right now for the Autodesk Inventor PV Elite plugin is that it reads PVDB files. Now, this is the extension file name for PV Elite input files. And as you are aware, this is a database style file that PV Elite uses to store all the input information in PV Elite. So the Autodesk Inventor plugin needs this specific PV Elite file. And in the last version of PV Elite, what we did is we changed the format extension file name of PV Elite files, and with that we also make sure that we compress those files into an extension file name .pv. It's called .pv, and it's basically a compression file, sort of like a zip file. So in that zip file we compress your input files and we compress your output file, which is the reports once you analyze the vessel, and then other intermediate files. So now by default, it compresses all your input files. So the moment you create a new PV Elite model, when you close the program or you save this file, it'll compress it into a .pv file. So there's a way to not compress those files, okay? So, and like I said, in Autodesk, you have this screen to load the file, and the only option is to load .pvdb files, okay? Now, in PV Elite, there's two ways that you can work with this. One of them is go to the Tools menu in the ribbon menu, and then go to the configuration. Once you press on that icon, then you will see a configuration dialog, and it has a tab called Default Value Settings. Now, once you are on the default value settings, midway of this dialog, you'll see this checkbox that says Do Not Compress Input Files. So once you press that button, and then you open a new file or create a new file or open an older existing file from PV Elite, every time you close the program, the file will stay in its natural format, which will be the .pvdv. Okay. Another way is if you see on the Tools menu, there is this file extraction utility. This is a separate application that if you have multiple files that you need to extract, that they were compressed, this way you can actually do it with multiple files at the same time. So those are the two ways to extract the contents or not compress the files, the input files for PV Elite. Okay. So another requirement is in the same topic. The reason why you don't want to compress the files in this case, or you want to decompress them, extract the contents really, is because you need this intermediate file, the star.pvu file. Now this file is only created when you run the analysis for PV Elite. So the reason why we did this was because this intermediate file has certain information that is acquired through the analysis. So when you run the analysis of your PV Elite input file, you'll have some vessel weight data that is calculated through the program, and so that data is stored in this PVU file that in the Autodesk Inventor program, when you load or you import the PV Elite file, it'll use that information in the model itself. And I'll show you a little bit more about that information. So basically, this image just shows you how the PV Elite input file has intermediate files, and so you're going to use those. Okay. Now let's talk about the plugin UI. The Inventor plugin UI adds a ribbon menu tab with 3 icons: the load file icon, the help icon, and the options icon. Okay, and so what this means is that when you open Inventor and you install our Inventor plugin, you'll see this PV Elite data import tab with those 3 icons. And those are the options that you'll have within Inventor. So this is, again, a plugin, which is something added to the Autodesk Inventor application. So load file icon, that just means that it actually opens a dialog screen to load your and find your PV Elite database files, your input files. The help, that's just a menu to bring our own developed help that we worked on for the application, is steps and guidance through the menus in this Inventor plugin. This is our own help. This is not just the Autodesk help. So we made our own help. And the third option is to show you, and the third icon is to actually show you some options. So let's talk in detail about the options icon. This options icon will bring in the dialog. And in this dialog, you can see that you have the default file load directory bar. Now this allows you to set a default location in your machine to where you store your PV Elite input files. So every time you press the load file icon, it'll go to that directory. Now then, the other thing is you have your About screen. This is just information about the company, but interestingly enough is at the bottom, you can see a version number. This version number is different than the PV Elite version number. That is because if we make any additions to this plugin, you'll have a different version number. And so you can tell which version number you're running. As well as it helps us to figure out if you have to do any support. Our developers are able to see which version you're running, if there's any changes or anything that we need to look at. And we also added an option to check for updates. Now, for now, we will be adding updates that you can download for the plugin. It's a small installation, so you can download these updates, and this check for updates will just tell you. It's not going to download the update for you. It will just tell you if there is an update available. All right. So now let's talk about the features, and we're gonna exit this presentation for now, and we're going to see now in the program how we can actually. You can see this is Inventor on your screen, and you can see how we can actually see the tab for PV Elite data import. Okay. And there's let's actually try to let's load one file. Let's load this tower file. And as you can see, while it's loading the input file from PV Elite, it shows you a progress bar, and it shows you what it's actually importing from the model. So you see all the components that are imported from this model. If there is any sort of issue as far as, you missed on a saddle some incorrect value that does not converge correctly in Inventor, then we cater for that so that the program will show you a dialog and say, this value you might be able to get away with in PV Elite because it's just using numbers really to analyze. But in Inventor, it might have a clash or something like that. So the program will stop and tell you there's an issue and just show you a dialog. And if there is an issue, it probably will not draw it in Inventor. So now, in the menu bar or the side view menus, the original Inventor menu is that model menu that shows you all the components or all the parts in the assembly, because the models are imported as an assembly now. But we also added this menu called PV Elite Color Visibility Options. And in here, you see every single component that we import, and this is where you can select to change the colors on them. So let's change the color for that cylinder, for example. So you can see the palette of colors that you can select for a cylinder. If you select one, and then press OK, well, now it'll change those colors, okay? And so you can select your own colors in this menu. So you have the colors, and then you also have the visibility. So let's go ahead and check the box for visibility for the cylinders. And then this way you can see that it actually turns the visibility off for that component. Okay, and this is just to be able to see the insides or anything that you want to that hide from the model itself. It's just the visibility, the information is still there. Okay, so this menu has three options. One is reset color, because you can reset all the colors to the default. Reset visibility as well. And then finally, open log. So open log, this brings a text format that every time you load a PV Elite file, it gives you information as to what happened during this import. Okay, you can see that it tells you, well, this is the machine, and this is the file that I tried to load, when I started, what time, and then how much it took me, and then when I finished. If there's any sort of error, then it'll write in that information in here. If it stopped at some point, or if it, it found some, clash on any particular detail, and then it'll display that information. This is mainly for our benefit in the development when we do support, so we can hear from you and see your model, and then also be able to have more information as to what happened when we load the file. Okay. Now, remember how I mentioned why we load the files from PV Elite into Inventor? Because we could have done it and with just reading a step file, which is a model file that has information about the models, but when we actually import it, we import information from the input file. So if you right-click on that cone, you have an iProperties dialog, and this is where we customize this to have more detailed information from your input file. So you have information like, what is your cone length, what is your density, what is your material name, and all this other information that we use here, okay? The other thing is, remember how I mentioned that PVU file that is only created when you analyze your input file. So when you go into the assembly information on this model, the same way we use this iProperties and the custom tab to add customized information. Now this information, a lot of it is actually used and from or gathered from that PVU file, which is information that comes in from the analysis. It's not just information that you input, but also it might be data that the program analyzes and prints out. So in this case, this information we will be able to use when we do drawings. Okay. All right. So let's actually go on and show you another model. This is a horizontal model. It has most of the components or details that we use in PV Elite, so nozzles, body flanges, a tube sheet, the tubes, the saddles. You have lifting lugs, and then all the rest of the main components. So now for each component or each main element that you see in PV Elite, we also, with the way the program imports it imports every element as a part in Inventor, and then it joins them in as an assembly. So you can see this cylinder that it's shown with all the nozzle openings. So we draw the actual openings from those nozzles into the shell, cylindrical shell. So this assembly file, this model in Inventor is not just one solid mesh or one solid model. It's actually made up of parts that we import. So you can go ahead and make modifications. Now I do want to say that if you make modifications to the model here, you'll have to go back and make those changes in PV Elite. Okay. So once we have our model, we already have a little sketch, a drawing sketch. where you can import a specific model or draw the base, or different projections, different layout views. You can do a detail view, and then you can add the dimensions. And of course, the model has the dimensions from PV Elite, so it knows those dimensions. Okay, those are dimensions that we added. So we didn't manually go in there and type in the numbers. They're already part of the model. Okay. Now, part of that, you can also add bubbles to show you descriptions or where the certain parts of the model are located. Okay. And then the other thing is, these are drawn directly by Inventor as well, but the Inventor model knows what each part is. Okay. Now, you can also see that we can make up tables with information from the actual model. So in here, this is an example. We have this nozzle schedule or nozzle VOM that we can make up. And in this case, you can see that I have a flange grade and flange glass. Now, in my table, I did not actually add the flange material if it was existent. So what I can do is go in there and modify or edit this parts list or this table. Okay, and so I can go ahead and look up my custom or user-defined properties that I created, and then just add it. Okay, and then it will get the information from my model itself. That information is already there. So if those nozzles have a flange material, then we can just press OK, and it'll modify my table automatically. Now I don't have to type that information in. It's already part of the model when I import this. Okay, so this information is already part of the model itself. Now, the other type of list or table that we can work on is what is it called? It's called the actual list, or it's inserted as a symbol. So you can actually make up your own symbol. In this case, this symbol is a table, but this is smart tags that are part of the PV Elite input data and output data as well. So you can edit a section, and you can see the smart tags that are part of it. So if you create you can go ahead and go and change any of these smart tags. Okay, so you can delete one, and then go ahead and select one smart tag. I guess we can select the manufacturer or something like that. It doesn't matter what we do, and then once we finish this, then it'll import that value directly. So you're not typing this value in. Okay, and like I said, this is something that it's already part of the information that is gathered from the output. It's looking at certain information that we actually export. Okay, but the neat thing about this is that once you create your own tag, you can actually go in there and make your own. Okay, and then once you do that, then you can certainly modify on their own, and then add them in multiple drawings, so use it multiple times. So you have certain blocks that you can create, and they're smart, I guess headings that we use when we import the model itself. All right. So those are the main things. Now this is version 1 that we added into this PV Elite Inventor plugin, and And I guess now we can, I guess this is the end of the presentation. So I'll give it back to you. Let's go back to, I just want to show you one more slide that I want to cover on my presentation before we go into the questions. So this is certain FAQs that you might get is usually we get this asked question. So if we see this question, we're not trying not to answer your question, but I want to show this question so that it's on the actual recording whenever we display this. But we always make a link of the recording so you can see this later of this webinar. So if many people would probably ask what's the cost of this plugin. Now there is no cost on this Inventor PV Elite plugin. It's free, and it'll be made available to the users who are current on maintenance. So if you're not on maintenance on PV Elite, you will not have access to this, unfortunately. So you have to be on maintenance to be able to use this plugin. Now, when is this capability or this plugin going to be available? This will be available when we release PV Elite 2017 Service Pack 1, which is right now scheduled to be released in March 2017. Now, the next question is, how do I get this feature? Well, this feature is free, and it will be provided to the users who are on maintenance, and you can download this, or customers will be able to download this through our Smart Support portal. So the Smart Support portal is where you can actually go in there and submit service requests. So if you have any support issues or questions or comments, this is where you can go into in the Smart Support portal. Okay, now the next thing is what version of the product will this capability run on? So you will need Service Pack PV Elite 2017 Service Pack 1. And then any other future versions of PV Elite. Okay? And also we tested this product in Inventor Professional 2017. I know there's an Inventor LT version. We know for sure that it doesn't work on that one. I don't know if that's free but yeah, we tested that on that version and it doesn't work. It seems like Inventor does make a differentiation between the Professional and the LT, and something that we were doing on our plugin that we need is not part of the LT, as I'm sure other products are not capable. So you do need an Inventor Professional license. All right. So Jana, I don't know, I'm not sure if I give it back to you.
Sure. So thanks, Luis. And now, if any of you have any questions, please type them in the questions tab. And now Michael Vance is here from the development team to ask some of the questions you've asked today. Michael, would you like to ask some questions?
Yes, thank you, Jana. We've had a number of questions come in, so we're just going to select a few of them and try to answer as many as we can. I think one of the questions that we're seeing pretty often is the interface, is the PV Elite Autodesk plugin, is it bi-directional?
So it's in this version, it's not bi-directional, and by those that are aware, bi-directional means that we can import into an Autodesk Inventor and then export back into PV Elite. So that would require for PV Elite to read some kind of intermediate file or some kind of file from Inventor, or we would have to make up our own file. So right now, it's not currently possible. Maybe in the future version, we'll have to see. But right now, the UI does not have a way to be bi-directional as far as the information. So if you make any modifications to your Inventor assembly or parts, you'll have to be aware that you need to make changes to your PV Elite input file.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess along those same lines, another question that was coming in was, can we modify the dimensions of a component? So say a cylinder or a nozzle or something that comes in that's imported, can you modify that in Inventor?
So yes, you will be able to modify dimensions so that if you want to extrude the length of the cylinder, that means make it longer, you certainly can do so. But again, I want to reiterate that once you do that, you have to do the same thing on PV Elite. The other thing is also you have to also be aware that the information that we import that are on the iProperties icon, iProperties dialog on the custom tab, that information is static text. So it might display the cylinder length, which is information that came in from the input file. But if you modify this on the Inventor parts file, then you'll have to go back and modify this as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Does the model that comes from PV Elite to Inventor create separate Inventor part files for each component, say nozzles, flanges, cylinders? Are those separate part files?
So yeah, so the UI that we worked on, the plugin, basically what it does is imports all the components, and it knows that they're separate components, and so they are part of the same assembly, and so they open and they open up in as a part. So if I want to select my head, then I can go ahead and open this head, and it'll show me that part individually. Okay, so that's its own part in itself, and just as it's its own part, then it actually has its own properties and information like that. So this assembly has the different parts in itself.
Okay, awesome. Another question. Can someone operate the plugin if they do not have PV Elite installed on their machine?
So yes, if they are paid maintenance users, they don't have to have PV Elite installed. There's a separate installation for the plugin. So if you have your vessel engineers, they have PV Elite, and then you have an engineer that's actually doing all the dimensions on the drawings, and you're doing general assembly drawings, they don't have to have PV Elite installed on that machine. They will need, of course, Inventor, and they will have to run a separate installation.
Okay. We're seeing a lot of the same questions over and over again. So if you kind of just want to give them a little bit more information again, what version of Inventor will this work on? And yeah, I guess where they'll be able to find the plugin when it's available.
Right. So the version of Inventor is going to be Inventor Professional 2017. This is the version that we tested in. And again, I want to reiterate that this is version 1 of this plugin. So you can find this plugin once we release it on the Smart Support portal. Now, I do want to mention that if you run, for those that want to know, where is this Smart Support link? Okay, well, if you go into PV Elite 2017, you will see a newsfeed icon, tab section next to the 3D graphics, and this is where you have this Smart Support. So you click on this, it should open up your Smart Support, and there's a link here that says Intergraph Smart Support. If you have a dealer, you might want to contact them, but if you already have a login, you can just click on that link and it'll give you the available login. Okay. If you don't have one, make sure you contact your dealer or one of your Intergraph offices.
Okay. Well, thank you for those answers. We do see some other questions. We'll probably be answering your specific questions directly. So if you did not hear your question answered here on the webinar, we will be contacting you directly to give you an answer to that question. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Jana. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Luis, and thanks very much to all of you for joining us at today's webinar. Tomorrow, you will receive an email with directions on how to watch a recording of this webinar. We hope to see you at our next PV Elite webinar.